I am Jane Nelson, your Secretary of State, and I want to begin by thanking you. I want to thank you for your service, and I want to thank you for all the hard work you're doing. I know better than most people sitting out here how hard you all are working, and truly we are grateful for the work that you're doing, truly. The last time that I was sitting over here on this side of the dais, I had just been sworn in, and I was still learning about this role. During the last 2 years, I have gained a much better understanding about this role, about our agency, about its functions, and about our needs. Of course, when you think about the Secretary of State's office, you think about elections, and rightly so. I mean, our number one mission is to ensure free and fair elections. And I want to thank the chairwoman and her counterpart over in the House for the election-related items that were funded in the base bill. We hold ourselves to the highest standard when it comes to election security and integrity, and these resources will help us tremendously as we prepare for future elections. So thank you for that. We are also responsible for processing business filings, and people don't think about that so much when they think about the Secretary of State's office, but it makes us the starting point for prospective business owners when seeking to do business in Texas. We also handle notaries and other government filings, including management of the Texas Register. You all are familiar with the Texas Register. It's the vehicle by which the public becomes aware of proposed agency rules and public meetings. You know, the Register began its 50th year of publication this month. And we are the state's front door in matters relating to international protocol and border affairs. The entire world wants to do business with Texas. And so my office stays very busy welcoming international delegates, international delegations interested in forging relationships with our state. As I've gotten to know our nearly 300 employees, I can attest that the true wealth of our agency is with its people. Our employees are loyal, hardworking public servants, many of whom have been with this agency for decades. With new secretaries of states every 2 years for the past 10 years, however, long-term planning has been a challenge with this agency. During the interim, we updated our strategic plan. We worked with all of our divisions to identify ways that the agency could better serve the people of Texas. Senator Paxton? The number one answer to that is more people, and that's reflected, as you see, in exceptional item number 2, keep Texas competitive. Our governor says all the time, he wants government to move at the speed of business. So do I. However, our staffing levels have remained flat while our workload has increased exponentially, including phone calls and emails and web transactions and actual document filings. Our business filings division has over 12 million interactions with the business community every year. 12 million. That's nearly doubled over the last 10 years. Now, you all know me, and you know I'm a penny pincher. And I sat down with every single division and went over all of their budget requests. And I cut them in half before this LAR was even presented to you. We went over all of their wants. And the LAR that you see is not their wants, it's their needs. In fact, our total request that you're seeing is less than the entire amount that was appropriated to the agency last session. Hello, Senator Colcourse.
With a broken nose.
I'm sorry. I'm not going to ask. I'm not asking. What you see, including the exceptional items, is this agency's needs. We truly need this additional staff, and thanks to the chairwoman who funded the request to renovate the Rudder building in the base bill, we will have the workspace necessary to accommodate them. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to the deputy to highlight the remaining exceptional items, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. And it is really good to see you all, and I truly do appreciate all the work you're doing. Thank you, and happy birthday, Senator Flores.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the Finance Committee, I'm Dave No Relation Nelson, Deputy Secretary of State. Our agency submitted 4 exceptional items. Exceptional item 1, strengthen election security and integrity, was mostly funded in the base budget, which we greatly appreciate. In exceptional item 1, we are still seeking resources for 5 additional FTEs, 2 cybersecurity officers, and 3 elections workers. In exceptional item 2, keep Texas competitive, we've grouped our request into 3 subcategories. 2A seeks 10 frontline workers, including attorneys and document examiners, to improve processing times in business and government filings divisions. 2B seeks 10 FTEs to fill gaps in expertise and add professional support staff. In 2C, we are seeking funds for a new website. Our current site is a major pain point for the agency. It's housed on the same HTML platform it was built on in 2002. It's difficult to navigate. It has to be coded manually. When visitors can't find what they need on their website, they call our office and often end up waiting for a live person to talk to. Not only does this frustrate the caller, it adds to the workload of our staff. This website often represents the public's first interaction with us, and in many cases, a business person's first experience with the state of Texas. A new website will help us improve the user experience and make it easier for customers to navigate our services. It will also alleviate the burden on our call center and reduce workload of our staff. Exceptional item 3 requests $6.9 million to digitize and preserve records that currently occupy entire wings of our building. Our closets, hallways, and basements are filled with filing cabinets, paper records, storage boxes, and microfiche machines. If we can digitize these records properly, we can make room for much needed workspace. As our agency continues to staff up, we are beginning to outgrow our facility on 11th Street, the Rudder Building, and I want to echo the Secretary's gratitude for including its renovation in the Facility Commission's bill pattern in the base budget. Our employees are thrilled. They are very proud of the history of that building. The James Earl Rudder State Office Building was built in 1918, making it the first state office building outside the Capitol grounds. It's on the National Register of Historic Places, and it's named after the famous Texan who led his troop of Army Rangers up the cliffs of Pointe du Hoc during the D-Day invasion in World War II. Our building's last major renovation occurred in the 1980s, before there was an internet. Funding is sorely needed to bring the Rudder up to the standards of a modern-day office building. It will allow us to maximize our space, provide a secure entrance for our employees, and help us better serve the lines of walk-in customers in our lobby. Exceptional item 4 requests $8.2 million for several IT items, including a dashboard, which will give us visibility into our data, allowing us to better track business activity in real time and quickly identify areas where we are falling behind. A redaction tool for personally identifiable information. Our agency collects an enormous amount of data, sensitive data, and this tool will help us better protect the privacy of our customers. And various cybersecurity products to stay ahead of the ever-evolving threat environment. This concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
can I use 2 seconds
Of
to add
course.
something to that, please? I want to add that the namesake of that Rudder building, Major General Rudder, served as our land commissioner and president of Texas A&M, and he made at that time what was considered a very controversial decision, and that was to allow women into the university. And I sent to you all, when we celebrated the 80th anniversary of the D-Day landing, I sent a commemorative bookmark to your office, and we've got some of those left over. So if I could ask the clerk maybe to pass those out to remind you all. If you've never set foot in that building, and I have to be honest with you, when I served in the Senate, I didn't even know it was over there. It is a beautiful, beautiful, thank you, beautiful building, but it's fallen apart. And if we don't preserve it, it will be lost. And it's just a beautiful building that honors a very, very important man in our Texas history. So there's a little bookmark for you all. And thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Senator Nelson. There's a couple of questions before I move on. I wanted to ask you, so I think we did in the base about $43 million for the Rutgers building, but my understanding is, as usual, the facilities, you know the drill.
Yes.
The Facilities Commission is saying, oh, wait, it may be a little bit more than that. Mm-hmm. So we will work with you.
Thank
just
you.
If you could try to, you know how it is, if you could try to put the pressure on, and so we have a real number. You know, when you as much as anyone knows how it works, as we get moving along this process, we want to make sure you get what you need, because it just delays it another 2 years if you have what you need.
Yes, and thank you, Madam Chairman. We will work with you, and I know, sometimes we have money and sometimes we don't have money, and right now I can think of no better use of money than to preserve that building. It is falling. I mean, something's going to have to be done, and at some point, this agency is either going to have to move somewhere else or preserve and restore that building, and it, I think, will be much less expensive to restore that building right now. And it's a treasure. It's a gem. Yeah. So yes, we will. And they did. I don't. Yes,
and it's right across the street from the Capitol. It has a lot of presence, and it's important, as you said.
Yes.
And we are making these one-time infrastructure investments that will, support.
I will add this, too. We house very important documents and election material there that right now the security of that building needs to be addressed, which we would do in the renovation process.
And so you'll know we're also doing a whole Capitol complex security review. DPS is going to take over all the security for all the buildings. Your building would be included. We're giving them 500 new troopers. Part of those troopers will be used for the Capitol Complex security plan.
Yes.
That's new, and it's kind of working through the budget process. It's not a bill.
Oh, boy.
But you'll see it as the budget comes out, how it develops.
Very wise, very wise. Yeah. And as you know, the Rudder building wasn't even our budget. But it's very important to what we do. So thank you so much for addressing that, and we absolutely will work with them to make sure they get the numbers right.
Okay.
Thank you.
And let's see, Senator Schwartner, you have a question?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I just want to recognize the master class of presenting in front of the Finance Committee that you just gave. I hope anybody that wants to come before this committee looks at this video about how to present information in a concise and appropriate manner, and one that gets the message across. So thank you, Madam Chair, as well, for your presentation, Madam Secretary. Regarding the Business Filings Division, I'm glad you highlighted that as Chair of B&C. It's so important that whole division runs efficiently. And I know the Secretary of State and in your office is, people think about elections, but the Business Filings Division is, in my opinion, as important, because we got to keep Texas moving. And I thank you for your work on that. So I know y'all had some increased funding for staff or to maintain the staff.
Exceptional item 2.
It is, okay.
Yes.
So it's something I'll be looking at as well. So.
Please, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And if I might, Madam Chairman.
Sure, go ahead.
In response to Senator Schwartner's remarks, we in Texas, as you all well know, population has increased a lot in the last 10 years. Let me share with you, Senator Schwartner, in the last 10-year period, we have seen an 80% increase in business activity over there, 80%. We've seen a 7% increase in staff. So, we went from 110 to 118 FTEs. Yeah, come on. I mean, I've been a business person. You can't keep up with that. And I have to have that additional staff. I told you, I went through, I did y'all's work for you, slicing through the requests that they made before I even turned it into you. What I turned into you, we have to have this. There is no question. That exceptional item for this staff, I can't keep. They're working nights, they're working weekends. I'm not going to tolerate the businesses sitting around waiting for approval. We're begging them, we're welcoming them. They're not going to wait. I'm not going to make them wait. We've got unbelievable staff over there working, but I've got to have more staff. And we have to have a place to put them. So give me those two things and I can make it work. But I'm not going to come to you all and ask you for anything we don't need. I have to have these numbers. Have to. Thank you, Senator, for bringing that up. I didn't ask him to bring that up, by the way.
Senator Nichols.
Oh, thank you. Madam Chairman?
Yes.
Welcome. I know everybody
Thank
told
you.
you welcome. I want to make sure I did as well. I was going through some of these notes. Well, by the way, Woodrow Wilson was president when that bill in 1918. Just
I think I dated him.
Hey-o. Early in that LBB thing, there was the interstate cross-check. I think this has to do with voter registrations. It says it was deleted. Do we still do interstate cross-checks to make sure people aren't registered in multiple states?
If I might, I would love to have our elections director address that because it leads into a broader question that I would love to have her address because I think somebody's probably going to ask it anyway. So our elections director, who, as I introduce her, I've got to brag on her. We just went through an incredible elections, and they were stupendous. I'm very proud of our elections division, headed up by this young woman. So identify yourself for the record, please.
Yes, ma'am. And yes, Senator, my name is Christina Adkins. I'm the Director of Elections for the Texas Secretary of State. And in answer to your question, sir, yes, we are still continuing to do what we refer to as cross-check or voter registration list maintenance activities.
So what was it? What was it we deleted, and why did we delete it?
My understanding, sir, is that that amount was rolled actually into our base budget, and so it's no longer a standalone funding item. But we're maintaining the funding for it. Yes, sir.
It's just
Yes.
we're in the lines. Okay, it's in a different place. I know I had trouble in my own district with. I had some of my constituents would come and complain they were having trouble getting their driver's license approved or something, and so it didn't make sense. So I started kind of checking with like DPS and found out that these people still registered to vote, and I'm not picking on Oklahoma, but it was Oklahoma, and they basically were trying to vote in both places. And you've got to pick one or the other. So I'm glad we're still doing the cross check. I don't know how accurate those are, but
Senator Nichols, were you on hold when you called the driver's license
Well-
office? How long did it take for them to answer the call?
I think I'll buy. But speaking of on hold, so y'all do have a call center. How long does it take for somebody to pick up the phone? Do you do a time? How many calls per month? What's the wait time?
For elections?
Just if I call the Secretary of State's office and it starts ringing, how long does it before somebody answers?
Less than 3 minutes.
Y'all considered the
No.
driver's license
We
office
do-
over
We considered it very briefly. Senator, we'll do whatever you ask of us.
We're looking for a home for the driver's license.
If the money follows.
Anyway, I couldn't. I had to say that.
I'd put Jane Nelson in.
No, thank you, but no, thank you.
One of the things you talked about 2 years ago, and you talked about a while ago, were all the records and all those file
Yes.
cabinets and microfiches. And for the
Yes.
kids in the room, microfiches were high tech at the time.
Yes.
In a galaxy long ago and far away, Robert.
So with the progress we're making, how many years will it take us to get through the digitization, if I said it correctly?
Well, first of all, Senator, I told you 2 years ago that I went down in that basement and it is filled front to back, side to side with file cabinets full of files. And there were desks with, I mean, it's like a Twilight Zone movie because the desk has those microfiche, conversion that somebody just walked away from. And it's still sitting down there. And the cost of converting all that stuff goes up and up and up. And sometime it's got to be done. Now, I called and said, okay, what can we just take all this stuff and box it up and store it someplace? And they say, no, you can't do that because we actually have to go down there and find stuff sometime. We have to digitalize that stuff.
Have we not started?
No, you didn't give us the money, Senator.
Oh, I thought we put something in there last.
Touche.
Not a bunch of money, she's thinking.
No. And it's in this budget.
we
It's
put
an
something
exceptional,
in
what
there this budget?
exceptional item is it? Where is that?
Okay. Based on the amount of money that you have requested, how long would it take to
Exceptional
get
item
through it?
what?
So,
Let me-
sorry, it's exceptional item 3, and the number represents the bid from TSLAC on what it would take to digitize everything. We've been working for the last year to identify everything that we have. It's all boxed up and ready to go, and so we can get this done in a matter of months, if not weeks.
Oh, in less than a year?
Yeah.
With the funding?
For sure.
Oh, okay.
Note the term with the funding. But here's the thing, 2 things that needs to be done. And it's the cost is going to continue to increase. I could use that space. I could use the space. And it's the cost is just going to continue to go up and up and up. And you have the money right now to do that. That is one of our exceptional item requests.
All right, thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you for answering.
Senator Betancourt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, Madam Secretary, I submit that your basement would be the great place to shoot the ending of Indiana Jones, okay?
You need to come and look. It's
Lost Ark.
no, Halloween 3 or something. It's
actually,
spooky
Halloween,
looking.
right.
Yeah.
It could be a great horror flick, too.
Yes.
You have some software that is programmed, I guess maybe in Sanskrit versus COBOL, but you have some very old.
The HTML3. What the website's designed on? What is that? What HTML? Here's my IT guy. We have a website, Senator.
It's HTML. That's good.
HTML2. That was
Been
designed
working
in
for
2000.
decades, right?
It's sad.
Is this the
It's-
interface with the public on?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's an exceptional item. Where is that? That's an exceptional item request too.
Okay, if I can add to what Senator Nichols was actually trying to add to this, that site really needs an upgrade.
Oh,
because, look,
I mean, half the people in this room weren't even born yet when this was designed. Okay.
spoken from somebody that dated Woodrow Wilson, I would know.
Yes. Okay.
Now-
Okay. Don't tell my husband.
Yeah,
Now, Senator, this is our website, and you know how important in today the business sector. People go online now. If they want to start a business, the first thing they do is go online. How do you start a business? Our website. Where is that? Okay, here.
How much?
2002. It was created. The site is on an HTML platform that was created in 2002. Everything's done manually. It is Senator Hall. Wait, he didn't have to sit there. Isn't he on this committee? Yeah.
Yeah, he is. He's talking to his staff.
This website is horrible. It's difficult to navigate. It needs to be redesigned. We went out for bid. It is pathetic.
Do we have an exceptional item?
Yes.
Okay. Can I
Yes.
ask how much?
No, it's 6
And no,
6
that's
million.
where I'm headed.
6 million.
6 million.
What's that?
6 million.
Okay. Now, to Senator Nichols' point, on a serious basis, the public really only deals with state government, the law-abiding public, let's put it that way, unless they're in Health and Human, really in two places, when they start a business and when they get a driver's license.
Yeah.
Now, I see a unique opportunity to combine the business efficiencies with the driver's license efficiencies.
I miss you, Senator.
I know.
Beck.
That's right. But I do want to say I would strongly support getting that old HTML website.
Yeah.
Look, in the this far, we're almost a quarter of the way through the 21st century. And really, by when we adopted that HTML website, it had already been in existence, that technology, for
It's
several decades.
embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. I agree.
Yep.
If you want to be the business mecca of the United States, we should be looking at trying to have a better website for people to register a business, because so many people that have an idea, they register and they start small, they hit it big, but the first place they'll always remember that we're in the 20th century or less is this site. Now,
I will add that we have one webmaster to handle all that too. And that's in one of our, I think we asked for one more person to help with all that. And I just have to tell you, I spend so much of my time, we really are, think of us as a nation, and this isn't just fibbing, y'all. If we were a nation, we're bumping from 8 to 7 now.
Oh, I agree.
7th in the world, y'all.
Right.
There are people, I didn't expect this. I knew elections. I thought I was going to be doing all elections. The governor calls me his ambassador. People are constantly at my door from other countries, from other states, businesses constantly. They want to do business. Senator Schwertner, businesses they want to come here. They want to do business here. And it's not all, we read in the news about all the big businesses. These are little businesses too. We got to help them. We have to help them.
Madam Secretary,
yes.
in one word, yes, Texas is now huge, like very huge.
It is,
okay?
yeah, you
and
do
we
it
need
very
a
well.
huge website, in my opinion. Now,
We've got to help them.
on a serious comment, could you get your efficient elections division head back up? She's approaching the bench as we speak.
Elections.
Yes, elections.
Yes.
My favorite county to discuss, of course,
Yes.
Harris County.
Yes.
And it is the only county in the state that has Secretary of State of Oversight. But I believe the current record is you have 0 complaints at this point, or do you actually have 1 or 2? I'm curious.
We have started to receive complaints now for the 2024 November election. They have been rolling in over the last few weeks.
Okay.
And so our team is diligently reviewing that. Some of the complaints have quite a bit of data associated with it. And so we are in the review process and should have some responses to those very quickly.
Right now, I'm guessing that this is probably voter registration related from what I see, but is that something, can you comment on at least?
So
Are we looking in front of the camera or behind the camera?
So unfortunately, sir, I am not permitted to comment on any kind of outcomes
You know
regarding our complaints.
nothing,
Or,
right? Okay, very good. All right. I do want to say that it's very important that this work, okay? Because the trust in elections in Harris County had been shattered to the point where people didn't believe the results. They didn't believe the effort was genuine. There's at least one person that actually took an indictment, okay, that may or may not have been responsible for basically understaffing underpapering the polls with the needed amount of ballot paper. And the fact that we have an open system now, and quite frankly, I will say this, and I said it publicly, Senator Alvarado, Tina Shahusbeth done a great job of pulling that department up by its bootstraps, because it would almost collapsed by the time we made that change. And say, hey, right. That's huge as well. It's huge. Okay, but so I would think that moving with speed on those complaints to help the public realize that we're taking it seriously and that we're reviewing this information is as important as audits, quite frankly, because,
Sir.
Madam Secretary, getting these questions answered means that there's real answers as opposed to the vacuum of social media. Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Paxton.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, Madam Secretary. Good to see you. I wanted to thank your office for reaching out to my office about voter registration, the cross-checking that Senator Nichols mentioned. One of my kids, my son, has lived out of state since 2016, and he's a registered voter in that state, and he continues, even this last election cycle, to get a voter registration card at our home address. And so just to drill down a little deeper, what do you do to cross-check because, and I know y'all are going to reach out to him, I think, to see if that helps troubleshoot
Yes.
some things. But could you just describe the process of cross-checking?
I'm going to let Christina go through that, but we want to find out what is going on with him. But yes, I'm going to let Christina go through that process.
Thank you for the question, ma'am. For what we call cross-check or broadly voter registration list maintenance, we engage with a number of different jurisdictions, other state agencies to get data sets from them that reflect, for example, when individuals move either within Texas or now out of the state of Texas. We get that information, we match it to our voter registration database, and then we provide that to the counties so that they can act on that data.
So the pain points on this would be either, I mean, do some states not provide that information to us?
So what I would say is that in the past, excuse me, we have relied on some other organizations, some third-party organizations to help us provide that data. We are looking towards other sources now so that we can get that information more timely. We've been working with DPS to
Like faster than 9 years?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And I would say that there are some states out there that in the past have not participated in data sharing, and we're looking at trying to find ways to obtain data from those different states. For example, when somebody moves out of state, not everybody provides that information.
So another place where that might fall through the cracks then would be at the county?
Well, we get the data, we provide it to the counties, but it is up to our counties to act on that data if they have it.
Okay.
They are the ones that handle that when it comes to actually researching and taking action on somebody's registration.
Well, it seems like, someone might move out of state, and they may or may not ever register to vote. But if they do register to vote in another state, it does seem like there ought to be, in this day and age, a pretty simple way of doing that. And, this is 9 years later, right? And
Yes, ma'am.
So I know we brought this up in the last conversation 2 years ago. I do appreciate your office reaching out, and I think they've already made contact with my son to see if they can kind of figure out what has happened. But I hope that gives some insight in, because he's obviously not the only one, right? But he's been on there a long time. So I just want to encourage, and I appreciate your efforts in that way, because having accurate voter rolls is so important for election integrity. And so thank you for working on that, and I look forward to kind of hearing what you discover in that process.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Senator Hinojosa?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good seeing you, Secretary Nelson. A different position, different roles, I guess, as being your vice chair for so many sessions, and now I see you on the other side testifying for the Finance Committee. But besides all the responsibilities that Secretary of State has in terms of business filings, elections, there's one that is also very important that I very seldom is spoken about. That is international protocol. As you well know, Mexico is our #1 trading partner, and the commercial trade continues to grow and grow and grow every year. So I get inquiries from, and I've met actually with the governor of Nuevo León. I met with the mayor of Monterrey. I also met with delegations from Tamaulipas and also Nuevo León. And they all want to know how can they set up at least a formal or some type of connection and communication with the Secretary of State and the Governor's office to be able to increase trade. Mm-hmm. And it's not only from government officials. Many of the Mexican trade groups also contact me and try to find ways to increase that communication to help increase the trade between Mexico and Texas.
Senator Hinojosa, and it's good to see my old vice chair again. I didn't even realize until I assumed this role, and I'm embarrassed to say this. Back before, I think it was even before I came to the Senate, Senator Lucio passed a bill that created the Border Trade Advisory Committee. And the Secretary of State chairs that. And they're required by statute to meet 4 times a year. And so I step into this role, and I started chairing those hearings. Well, I first of all found out that they were having all those meetings in Austin, and I said, wait a minute, that's border trade. Let's have those meetings on the border. And you know this. I started having them. It is an aspect of this job that I love the most. We've had meetings in we had one in Laredo, we had one in Del Rio, El Paso, Brownsville. I have met with governors of all 4 of our border states in Mexico. Mexico's our largest trading partner. And we talk about transportation. We've had presentations by. I've met with major companies. We have an assistant secretary of state for border affairs. He has. If I can't attend a meeting, he goes in my stead. He's helping me with my Spanish, as Senator Alvarado knows, and fully appreciates I'm coming along, but. It's very important that we not just maintain good trade relations with our partner to the south, but that we continue to develop that. And so I'm doing everything I can to foster that, to understand what the problems are. Not just, in fact, the last meeting we had, one of our major topics was ports. And we had great presentation and discussion on our ports. We talk about trucking. We talk about what happens. A lot of the food that we buy at the grocery store comes up. What happens if those trucks get, are sitting waiting for 10 hours, 12 hours? And I've learned so much and made great friends. So I've really enjoyed that aspect of what we do, and we'll continue to focus. And they have enjoyed. We have, I did make the decision to have one of those 4 meetings here in Austin because they've enjoyed coming to the Capitol. So we do, and I think it would help for the members of the Senate to come, and the House to come and visit with them when they come here. I've tried to invite you all to things because I think it's important that we develop those relationships.
Well, I guess if trucks get delayed on the bridges,
yes,
we will not have any avocados for the Super Bowl.
That's, yeah.
No guacamole.
But guacamole is right. I will, besides the trade group, when I'm requested for assistance, I will refer those to your office and it may be that the best way for them to proceed to create a better communication structure that they feel they need may be through the trade group and being part of it and being a lot more active and participating, especially if you meet 4 times a year, which I think would be very helpful.
Mm-hmm. And senators have come to some of those meetings. We have, we had 400 people at the one in Del Rio. Mayors from Texas and Mexico, business people, wonderful conversations take place, and it really would benefit.
Those who attended those meetings speak very highly of you, and they all want to meet you, they all want to talk to you, and they all want you to go visit Mexico. I said, well, I don't know about visiting Mexico, but either way, having meetings along the border has been very helpful. But thank you for your work in that area.
Yeah. Thank you. I've enjoyed it.
Senator Hall.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yes,
My
sir.
apologies for being late. So if somebody's already asked this and you've already answered it,
I'll answer it
just
again.
tell me so and we can move on to something else. But I know in the past that you were challenged with the staff size when we got election times to be able to respond to and answer questions coming in from, this is on elections, so
Right.
in there. Are you staffed now? Do you have the staff and the plans in place so that in the elections, as folks encounter things that are questionable in their mind, to react to them and handle them?
I'm going to let Christine, you know Christina well, Senator Hall, and it's good to see you again, and I really am grateful for your interest in what we do over there. I'm going to let Christina answer that.
Thank you for the question, Senator. We have actually asked for some additional personnel in this area. We've asked for some folks to help us with training so we can be proactive. We've also asked for an additional person to help us with our certification program so that when things come up, during an election, we can be more responsive and make efforts to be on site in some of these locations to address potential issues.
Okay, good, all right. In one area, and that's not the time to go into detail, but I would like to talk with you more about the issue of the logic and accuracy test.
Yes, sir.
Because I witnessed it, I was there, I saw it, and I got to tell you, it concerns me greatly, because the process we currently have is one of the fox guarding the hen house. And I don't think with the system, the way we've got it set up, that we are resulting in the confidence that we're trying to get. Because that's the whole thing, is the confidence in the accuracy of our elections is so important to the people out there for whatever reason. I say accuracy, I'm not talking about fraud, I'm talking about just accuracy that can happen due to error. And I think the current way we do those, where the county does it all by themselves, no meaningful oversight, and nobody has a clue what they're doing when they do it, and no validation or verification of the process, I would just like for us to look for a different way so that we have confidence in the accuracy of it. Okay. And the other is the voter rolls. Now, understand, that's a county responsibility for having clean voter rolls. But the state, and if I'm saying this wrong, tell me, that I'm just to get to the question here, but you've moved from ERIC to a different process in which you will have more control over gathering up the information to continuously check the voter rolls from various sources to make sure that we know who's left the state, primarily who's no longer eligible in the process. And then you provide that information to the county.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
For them to update.
Yes, sir. It's the county's responsibility to take action on any of those matches, but we are working very hard from the state level to obtain as many different data sources as possible to help counties maintain clean voter rolls.
Okay. You send it, do you have any control? Is there a feedback loop or anything that says, hey, we got that from you and look what we did, we changed, we updated, and we used what you gave us and now we cleaned up our voter roll? Or do they just receive it and they have the choice of doing it, throw it in the trash can, ignore it, or do it?
Well, it's a little bit of both, sir. I would say that several sessions back, it was one of Senator Betancourt's bills, I think it was SB 1113, that gave us the ability to monitor, and we gave us some limited enforcement authority where we can try to make sure that the counties are completing the actions that are required under the law. What's difficult for us is that we can't always see what the counties are doing. You know, we have a number of counties that use their own vendors rather than just using the state system. And so we do the best that we can with those counties, but we don't always have insight into the actions they take for investigations.
So wouldn't it be more efficient if it was done once? Because they're just repeating what you have done by using the information you give them to up their voter rolls. Why wouldn't we have a statewide voter roll that you update and you inform the counties of those people who are living in their county that are eligible to vote, rather than them having to hire staff to do what you've already done?
What I would say, sir, is just to make one thing clear, it is one statewide voter registration database, one statewide voter registration list that the counties draw from. You know, any changes to the structure of how we handle elections in Texas, that would be a policy decision.
Oh, I understand that.
Yes, sir.
No, I understand. You're following legislation. I don't want us to be in a position where decisions were made at one time that seemed to make sense on what was happening then, and now as things have changed in technology and populations and other things, we're doing stuff that's not as efficient and accurate as it could be if we were to go address that issue and today based on what we know. And so I just bring that up to make sure I understood where we are with it, and we can talk about this outside of here, but I just want to make sure I understood that, and to see if that's we can't possibly do that, or maybe it's worthwhile considering it.
I'd be happy to visit with you more about that, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Campbell.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Well, I just wanted to say that I think you've made the Secretary of State office a lean, well-oiled machine, and Texas is stronger for that. So good job. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Senator Betancourt, did you want to follow up on the election issue?
I do.
Senator Alvarado, she's said.
Right, just quickly on Senate Bill 1113, you do have limited enforcement. I believe that if someone is not purging the voter rolls, you can withhold Chapter 19 funds.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. Now, as somebody who was alive back in a galaxy long ago and far away, to Senator Hall's point, we actually put the major counties on batch mode because they weren't online. This goes all the way back almost 25 years because we really didn't have the computing power to be able to handle those offline counties is what you call them, but effectively they're batch versus continuous. And it may be time to revisit that because at this point in time, they've got the engine that can actually handle handle all of that in one database. And you're right, Senator Hall, it's very inefficient to be doing double entry and double checking, et cetera. I don't know, can you comment on that? Okay, well, that, however, is the history behind the decision to go with offline counties over several decades ago.
Okay, thank you, Senator Betancourt. Senator Alvarado.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Secretary, always good to see you. Thank you for your work and your team. Y'all have always been very receptive and very responsive to our office. Senator Hall, speaking of technology and efficiency, one thing I've advocated for has been online voter registration. And I know that's not your decision, it's this body and the other body. Can you tell me, I was just on your website, like going through the voter registration, I guess, pre-application. Yeah, it needs a little bit of work, and I know you're on it.
Yes.
So somebody can go to your site and register, or they do the pre-application, right? Not the actual voter
Right.
registration. Okay. And then they can go to the county.
Right.
Is that right?
Right.
So how many people do you have dedicated to processing the whether it's mailed or dropped off at your office? How many FTEs are dedicated to that?
Most of those registration applications are mailed directly to the county. We do have some that comes to the state because they're using a more generic form. We have 24 to 48 hour turnaround in getting those to the counties. It's usually same day if they come to us rather than being mailed to the county. During bigger election periods, it can take a little bit more than 24 hours, but we have a pretty quick turnaround on getting that to the county when it's mailed to us instead of the county.
And how many people do you have that work just on voter registration processing?
Well, on that component, that's our operations team that handles that, and I think we have about 10 folks that work in that division. As far as supporting our voter registration database and our counties that interface with that, we're up to about 25 individuals, thanks to the legislature for giving us some additional positions during the last session.
Do you have any idea how much it costs for someone, whether it's at the county or in your shop, to process the paper voter registration, snail mail?
That's a great question, ma'am. I wouldn't have that information. And as far as, since the bulk of that goes to the county, it might be a question where you might get better details from a county.
Okay. I have an idea what theirs is. I was just wondering if you knew what yours was. Now, I haven't gotten this information in maybe a couple of sessions, but I know that to process the way we do it now, just old school snail mail, it's about 80 cents, I believe, per card. And sometimes you have to send another one if something is not legible or there's a wrong address. And if you were to do it, if we went online, it's about 3 cents. So 3 cents versus 80 cents. Now, I'm sure those numbers need to be updated, but I just wanted to put that out there more for the public, why I have pushed for online voter registration that can be very safe and secure, efficient, and using great technology. So thank you for your work. And I have seen you, Madam Secretary, in action with folks in other countries, and we are so fortunate to have an ambassador like you representing our state. Thank you.
All right, that's all the questions we have for you, Madam Secretary. Thank you so much for being here this morning and with your great team. And
Thank you,
luck.
Madam Chairman. And again, members, thank you for your hard work. Thank you for what you're doing, truly.
see you soon.
Thank you.